Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and it looks like I'm still a little dark. Give me just a second here. I'm going to fix that real quick. I'm glad everybody is going to start stopping by. I'm going to let everybody know I'm on a live stream right now. Let's see. Hold on, folks. I know I'm appearing a little dark. We can fix that. No problem. Somebody messaged me today. I did not know that. Who messaged me today? Well, somebody doesn't know how to message. Oh, okay. Oh, well, I guess maybe nobody messaged me today. All right, fine. Let me go back to Facebook and let's type in this. I'm ruining. I like that. I'm ruining a live stream. Hey, there you go. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Well, I'll take care of that. There we go. Now everybody has been alerted that I am actually running a live stream. All right, now the first thing we've got to do is fix lighting. If you are in here right now, please let me know who you are so that I can say hello. Because just because it says I've got somebody on the live stream does not necessarily mean that I know who you are. So please tell me who you are. Okay, now I'm going to fix the lighting here in just a second. So I want you to just stay right there. Give me a second here. This is why I run this just a little early to see what I may need. And yes, we'll be talking about my lighting in this live stream. Like, really? I know my hair is a little disheveled, but just forget about that. Well, that kind of. Ooh, wow! We don't want to do that. Well, I guess that's a little better. I wonder if we can angle this just a little bit. Ooh, is that just a touch better? Please let me know. Okay, I know this is a little bit. How's that? You can pretty much see me now. I know I got a little bit of shadow over on this side, but we ain't gonna worry about it. The point is, you're not here to see me. You are here to see what I'm going to tell you tonight. And that's very important. And in just a moment, I'm going to have to wash something off. Tell you what, stay right there. We're just kind of starting in with all this. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, this is going to get fun. Huh. Can't believe it. There are still things that, now that we've rearranged everything, I can't seem to find anywhere. That's real nice. Oh, boy. Boy, this is important. Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's why I don't tell everybody that I'm gonna. This is kind of the pregame show. See what I mean? Okay. Might have something. Hold on. I know this. You guys always wanted to see what the pregame show was like. Well, now you're gonna see it. So. Guys are always saying, we got to see what Ted does behind the scenes. See what goes on in his wonderful world. You can see I have a dry erase board. I have a dry erase board, and there's a good reason for it. I may not pull out my Kodak Easy Chair tonight, mainly because really not much point. I may do another live stream with an actual video in it later on. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's start with this. Question number one. Why have I not been here for such a long time? Well, when you work 35 hours a week and you have all kinds of other responsibilities and whatnots, yeah, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to do much of anything. Okay, that is actually working, so we're in good shape there. Okay. We're doing pretty good right now. But that's the primary reason I have not been on. I have been working a lot of hours, sometimes almost 40. That is not a lie. I have been working nearly 40 hours a week. And by the time you get done with that and you're trying to write a Kindle book at the same time and doing some studies, that kind of thing, you just don't have time for live streams. And not to mention all the cooking I have to do during my time off. So you get to see that that's just not really, yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's get to the meat and potatoes of tonight's presentation. And the meat and potatoes of this one has got something to do with how you respond to me. Okay. Now, a lot of you people do a very good job of responding to me, and I talk back to you, and we all have these great conversations and so on and so forth. Let me. There we go. And specifically, we're going to be talking to somebody tonight. If he's tuning in right now, I hope he is. But let's see. Now remember, we're still kind of in the pre-game show here. Okay, we're going to eventually be responding to a guy by the name of Calum Luff. Okay, and we're going to respond to him right after I respond to one other person I want to respond to tonight, because Calum Luff actually responds better than the other person I'm going to talk to you about tonight. And we got to find his name here. Oh, I've been replying to all kinds of little people tonight. That little joke about today being April 3rd, 2021. So that looked like a dang countdown. So I was referring to a song that we all listened to in the late 1980s, and everybody had a good laugh over that. Let's see. We need to go a little bit further than that. Yeah, I know. Let's go a little bit further. Okay. Let's go a little bit further. Let's see. Keep in mind, folks, that YouTube is not my only social media. It's actually, we have YouTube and we have Facebook, and of course, we have. Ah, okay. I found what I was looking for. That's very important when you're doing a YouTube video like this. You have to find what you're looking for. Okay, so we're going to respond to two people tonight. The first one, the second one tonight we're going to be replying to is Calum Luff. The first one we're going to reply to, this is the kind of response I don't like seeing, and I'm very gruff about stuff like this. It's from Ian P. Brookside. Now, he put up a tweet, and he was praising the song Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, that was sung by Madonna. Okay, so he really wasn't praising the song so much. He was praising the singer, which happened to be Madonna. And I have to admit, Madonna has a really good voice. There's no question about her voice. None. So that's not even a statement or anything. We know that Madonna has a very good voice, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so if the problem isn't Madonna's voice, what is the problem? The problem is that when she sung that song for the movie Evita, and you can look this up on YouTube all you want, you can see this, she did not convey effectively the message of the song. Now that's important. Okay, so this has nothing to do with her voice, because this guy was praising her voice, saying how wonderful she was singing the song and so on and so forth, which I am not going to argue with. He is right. What I did say was that if you look at the content of the lyrics of that particular song and you see how Madonna sung it, she did not effectively convey the message of the song. It's that simple. She was more focused on her voice than the actual message of the song. That's the key. Now then. So, what's my first response to him? Well, let's go. I said, it isn't her voice that is the problem. It's the fact that she didn't convey the message of the song effectively. People were too busy lauding her musical abilities to notice the point of the song. Therefore, the point of the song is lost. That is a fact. You can go check that out for yourself. Okay? So, he calls me patronizing. And once again, goes into this long litany of how Madonna's voice is wonderful and I can't change his mind or nothing. So I wrote him back. And I said, just look at what you said about her performance. You discussed her voice, but said very little, if anything, about how effectively she conveyed the message of her song. You want to try that again? At this point, he wrote a message to me. And what does he say? This is a direct message from him to me, to my Twitter account. I get very few DMs, but this is one I got. Ever wondered why no one likes your tweet mate? What does that have to do with the point I was trying to make? It has nothing to do with that. And then he writes me another angry tweet, and before I could even think of responding back, he blocks me. That's not nice. They talk about us being nice here on social media. That is not nice. That is the definition of not nice. And within two tweets, he was so upset with what I had said, which he didn't have to be. I just asked him to prove a point. Instead of proving the point, he got angry at me and blocked me. That is not an effective debate. He did not win the debate at all. All he managed to do was tick me off. That's not how you debate somebody, people. You have a debate where you put out your points, your opposition puts out their points, and whichever point stands the test of time, that is the point that wins. That's how it works. That's how debates really work. You don't just just because you don't like what the guy is saying doesn't mean you just cut him off. You have to defend your position. He did not defend his position. He just cut me off. That is not a way to debate me. So I'm using this as a lesson to you. First of all, I would suggest that because Ian Phillips treats people this way, do you really want to be a part of his Twitter? Really? Do you? What? He's always right and you're always wrong? Is that communication? Think about it. Anyway, that is enough about him. Okay, so let's go to Calum Luff. Okay, and we got tons of replies here. Now, this is a better debate. I have to say, this guy had some points. I'm going to make some counterpoints here, and so on and so forth. First of all, he says that he did not get what my point was. And it says, it doesn't seem you're agreeing or refuting with Mark's argument. Now, to be clear, I had uploaded a video a long time ago to Mark Ballinger. Now, if you don't know who this is, you can look up Mark Ballinger on YouTube. Now, what really surprises me about all this is that the video that he uploaded that I was actually replying to, I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm surprised YouTube let it go on the air. And more importantly, I'm also surprised that it's been there as long as it has. Let me tell you something. When YouTube figures out that that video is there, it's probably going to come down. Okay? I just don't understand why it's still on the air. Okay? With YouTube's rules and regulations now, I just can't think of a particular reason why that video is still on the air. I guess we'll find out. The point is that if you want to watch that particular video, you can ask me for the hyperlink. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. You can go watch that Mark Ballinger video that I was replying to, and you can see it for yourself. Okay, so the first thing I said to Calum Luff was I wanted to thank you for watching. I said, before I respond to your question, I wanted to ask you a question, which I did. I asked him if he noticed that this video didn't have a fancy thumbnail or a super descriptive title. Now, why did these things? I was trying to get him to be a more observant. That's the first thing I try to do with people. I try to get him to be more observant, to see why I do what I do. It's very important because it actually gets you people to realize who you're dealing with. You're not just dealing with any ordinary human being. You're dealing with a very intelligent human being. And I have views and whatever that are a little different than everybody else. Okay. So I was trying to augment Calum Luff's observation skills. That was the first thing I wanted to do. Because I want him to understand that there are some videos I put in the forefront, and then there are other videos I put in the back burner. And the reason for this is because some of my students truly understand all of my content. Others have not quite caught up with this stuff yet. And I want them, if they're facing eviction, starvation, and bullyism, I want them to focus on all of my educational videos and just ignore any other, well, I call it fluff. Any other fluff that I put up on the air. Because it's not that important. When you're facing eviction, starvation, and bullyism, how I feel about Mark Ballinger, something becomes very unimportant. What becomes important is whether you are eating, you're living in a house where you're not freezing, or you're not baking, or you are not being bullied on a regular basis. That's important. Trust me. Compare the two, you'll figure it out. Anyway, so I went on with my response. And I was telling the reason why I didn't put a fancy thumbnail. I didn't put a fancy title. I have figured out that YouTube, and this is something that's going to lead into something a little bit later, but YouTube, if you do not put a fancy title on a video, you don't put a fancy thumbnail, you don't put any description, nothing, YouTube most likely is not going to share your video. Unless, of course, the guy, which this is what happened in this case, Calum Luff actually looked up Mark Ballinger, and when he did, YouTube, for some reason, decided to dig up this old video and pop it in there so that he could actually see it. And that's exactly what happened. Okay? As a matter of fact, not only is my response to Mike Ballinger it does not have a fancy title. It has no thumbnail. of really any significance. It definitely does not have a description, but also has no tags. And on top of all of this, it's not in any of my playlists. So I think you can see for yourself that this video, I want it on the bottom of the list. Yes, I want people to watch it, but only when they're out of their more volatile situations. You know, when they're relaxed at home, they're eating properly, they're not being bullied on a regular basis. Yes, then we'll have these discussions, especially when they get a little smarter. That's the goal. See what I mean? I prioritize. That's the whole key. I'll get into that a little bit later as I make a couple more YouTube videos. You're going to see that live right here. Okay. Now, after I made that point, I said Mark Ballinger was trying to apply first century values to our modern day culture. And that's exactly what he was trying to do. Because when he covered his topic, he did not differentiate between the society of first century Judea and 21st century United States. He did not differentiate between the two. And when you don't do that, you're not compensating for the unique situation that people in the 21st century in the United States are facing today. And if you don't compensate for that, you can't enforce the kind of thing that you're trying to enforce from the people of first century Judea, because people will reject it. They'll simply say, hey, I'm rejecting this. You're treating me as though I'm a first century Judean. I'm not a first century Judean. I'm a person from the United States. So what's the difference? What did Mark Ballinger not cover? That is what the topic of my response to him was. What did he not cover? Oh, it was a bunch. Let's contrast first century Judea and the current 21st century United States. Difference number one. What do we value? Money. Look at your wallet. You have dollar bills, you have coins. That's what you value. You value priceless art. You value cable television. Okay? You might even value your house. That to you is a commodity. But then again, if you wanted to sell your house and move somewhere else, it wouldn't be that hard. It wouldn't be easy, but it could be done, literally. What they value? Land. Land was what they valued. So, if you value land, could you just move from place to place? Not easily. Okay. You have to first sell the land, and then you have to go and buy another piece of property and do that. That's not so easy to do. Let's take a look at another difference between our modern day society and first century Judea. What happened in first century Judea? If somebody wanted to get married, their parents arranged it. That's right, specifically their father. Father arranged the whole thing. I'll pick your partner for life. Is that the same thing as here in the United States? Oh no. Look at all the dating apps. You can choose for yourself. You can choose not to get married at all. Nobody thinks anything of it. Is that the way it is today? The way it was back then? No. They placed a higher value back then on marriage and raising children than we do today. That's fact. So there is yet another difference. Back then, they picked your spouse. Today, you pick your own if you even want to go that far. A lot of people don't. So you see the difference? Okay. Well, I got a third person in my live stream here. Whoever you are, please tell me who you are so I will know who I'm talking to. I don't like talking to ghosts. Anyway, what else is different? Okay. Well, look at the age range. Okay, now think about this. These people were getting married kind of young. 16 would have been no big deal for them. Try getting married at 16 today, see what happens. Doesn't. Anyway, but here's the thing. Back then, if you made it to 50, like I am now, that was Social Security time. You weren't going to last too much longer. Okay? I mean, marriages didn't last more than 20, 25 years if you were lucky. Why? Because people didn't live that long. Either you went on a military conquest and you came home and, well, you weren't lively anymore. Get the picture? Or some disease finally finished you off. Okay? Either way, making it to 50 was a miracle. Is that the way it is today? Shoot. Most people live to be 75, 80 years old. I got another 30 years ahead of me, maybe more. Who knows? As modern technology advances, I might have a lot longer than that. You never know. But that's my point. People back then didn't live as long. People today do. And then, of course, there are the people that are not as healthy. Okay. Most people back then were very healthy people. Okay. Even if they were impoverished, they were a lot healthier in some ways than we are today. They weren't exactly couch potatoes. They worked 12-hour days. Are you kidding me? Out in the field, no less. Okay. So in some ways, they were sturdier than we are in that respect. Now, that definitely they had other problems, but they lived off the land. Get it? Is that the way it is today? Most people are couch potatoes. Yeah, I see all the people that have a hard time walking because they're so obese. So how you looked was a lot different. Okay. Now, there are other differences too. And I can go on and on and on with all these wonderful differences. Trying to think of some more because inheritance was a big thing back then too. You're lucky if you get an inheritance today. Back then, you didn't get an inheritance. That could be a life-changing decision there. Yeah. So that's another big thing. Families were close knit. Think about this for a second. I mean, you lived in a neighborhood most of your life. Now think about this for a second. It's not just the fact that you lived in a neighborhood almost your entire life. Sometimes with your parents the rest of their lives, and then on top of that, you stayed on their land until you were gone. But on top of that, if your parents had a trade, there was a 99% chance you were going to practice that trade along with them. Is that the case today? Yeah, go ahead and find somebody that the father does something and the son does the same thing. Yeah, that doesn't always happen anymore. Oh, I live in my father's house, and when he dies, I take over? Most kids can't wait to build their own house. That wasn't the way it was back then. I mean, they might build their own little estate as far as that's concerned, but they would still be on their parents' land. And they probably just tear down their parents' home and just kind of add on or refurbish their, they connect their home to their parents' home, and then they make one giant home for everybody. Whatever. But you get the picture. And like I said, with a career, are you kidding? Yeah, you have a family of 5 kids. See if even one of them will practice the same trade as you. We'll see. So all of these things are different. I'll also tell you this. Back then, kids did not go to K through 12 school. They just didn't do that. You actually had to pay for your education. Is that the way it is today? Oh, heck no. Government pays for most of it. You can usually, if you're poor enough, you can get a Pell Grant. I did that for a while. Until, of course, got a full-time job, and then I couldn't do that anymore. But you see, there are so many differences between their culture and our culture that Mark Ballinger didn't address any of this. And also, you have to keep in mind, when you grew up with these people, these are probably the only people you were ever going to see in your life. Back in the first century, if you lived in a neighborhood, that was your neighborhood. Those were the only people you were ever going to see, and you would never meet anybody else. You'd be lucky if you traveled. Okay, now I know some people actually did travel, but they traveled all the time. They just traveled for some of the time. Okay, right? These were not occasional travelers. They either traveled a lot or they didn't travel hardly at all. Some people would spend their entire lives from birth to the time they were gone in the field. Okay? So your meritable choices would be rather limited. Today, you don't like your neighborhood, you just pack up and go, and you go find another neighborhood, and maybe you'll meet somebody there. And shoot, you think about all the dating apps you got. You're bound to stumble onto somebody there. And of course, you got all your social media now. You got your Facebook, you got your Twitter, you got your Instagram, you got your YouTube, so on and so forth. I could go on and on and on, but that's not the point. The point is that you could meet literally thousands of people, and there may be thousands more you'll actually see photos of or whatever. You may never get to know those people at all. You may never even know their names. And it does have an adverse impact on you. Let me tell you something. I work at a photo lab, and I was developing photos, and I was developing photos of a motorcycle party, and this was a very wild motorcycle party. And I actually met a couple of people that were actually at the party. And let me tell you, my reaction to them after seeing these crazy photos was a little different than just seeing some random picture on the internet. I see some random picture on the internet. I don't know those people. I may never meet them in my life. May never even recognize them. So like I said, people watch movies all the time. They don't know who those people are. They might know their names, and they may not know anything about them. So to say that there is um, there is a humongous difference between living in first century Judea, where you would probably know every single person there, and they would know your business, and you would know theirs, and living in our modern society, where unless you become really famous, nobody would even know your business at all. You could go your whole life, and nobody would know who you were or what you were all about unless you explained it to them. There's still a lot of things in my life that I don't tell any of you people. I don't go into great detail. I don't need to. It's my life. You don't need to know. All you know is I'm a smart cookie, and I don't put up with idiotic cookies. Okay? But you see, Mark Ballinger didn't balance this out. Let me tell you something. In a society like what we have today, where we have young ladies that are ambitious. You think young ladies were ambitious back then? Not hardly. They were very submissive back then. They didn't have near the. Why do you think we had the Equal Rights Amendment? Why do you think we had women equality back 100 years ago? Because back in the first century, women did not have as many rights as they do today. Yeah. Try to do some of the things that women are doing today back then and see what happens. They were discouraged from doing a lot of those things. In more than one way, I might add. So again, that's another factor that Mark Ballinger didn't put into the system. Okay, it's not a surprise if you have both partners in a marriage having their own jobs, having their own bank accounts. Rarely do they intermix anything together. Is that the way it was in first century Judea? No, basically the guy was the boss. I mean, yeah, there were some variations on that, but I'm just saying that on its most basic level, the guy was the boss. Okay, that's how they lived. So it's not about what's right or wrong. That's just the way it was. So does Mark Ballinger cover any of this in his video? No, he doesn't. In today's society, guys are less likely to get heavily involved with young ladies, mainly because, number one, they can barely afford to support themselves. Now, let me tell you something. If a young lady becomes pregnant, there's going to be a period of time where she can't go to work. Literally, it's going to be physically impossible for her to go to work. Well, the guy's they're going to have to support her. That's the way it works. It's not an option. It's just the way it works. And if he doesn't, they both end up on the street. That's no good. But if a guy can't support himself, he certainly is not going to try to support a spouse. He may not have the backing of his family because you know what? A lot of families back then had an estate that he could rely on. Today, good luck with that. These are things you have to think about. Some guys just simply don't want kids. Okay. That was unheard of. You had kids back then. Now, you might not. But there is some detriment to that, and I'll get into that at some other point. But you see all these variations between what was going on in first century Judea and now. That's why it is more difficult for Mark Ballinger to make such declarative statements in his video. Because if you're not compensating for all of this, need I say more? So, what do you do to fix this? If you see somebody who is facing eviction, starvation, and bullyism, the first thing you got to do is get them out of that situation and as quick as you possibly can. Because the ultimate problem will become when they get much older. If they've had no kids and they don't have a really good bank account in the state of some kind, who's going to take care of them? It won't be the kids. It won't be the parents. It won't be their friends. So then who takes care of them? You better be real fit the rest of your life. Never thought about that, huh? There is a way to stop this. It really is. And the way you stop it is you start teaching them how to speed read. You teach them how to do memory techniques. That way they can get a good paying job. That way they can get good health insurance. No lady in their right mind is going to marry somebody that doesn't have good health insurance. It's not going to happen because she's not going to take care of his health needs. It just won't happen that way. And that's where it goes bad. Does Mark Ballinger cover any of this? No, he does not. And that's where his video is wrong. And that's what I was trying to express in the video. You did not cover this. You did not cover this. You did not cover that. Your video is wrong. Period. It's absolutely wrong. Until you cover all those bases, you're wrong. Period. Because you cannot apply first century Judean values on a modern day culture like this. It doesn't work that way. You have to fix what's wrong. And you're not fixing it, but I will. Okay. Anyway, let's go through some of this response. So first he said he can't tell whether I'm agreeing or disagreeing with Mark Ballinger. He says, just because Paul wrote in the first century doesn't mean the principles of Scripture cannot be applied today. I partially agree with Calum Luff on this. And the part I agree with is if the society hasn't changed, there are certain things in society that has not changed between the first century and today. Politics is definitely one of them. Okay? Let me think about it. What did the Romans have? They had a Senate. What do we have? We have a Senate. Same type of deal. I mean, it's run a little differently, but we have the same kind of government that the Romans did. That hasn't changed that much. Certainly what we're taught in churches hasn't changed at all in 2,000 years. It's not changed. So there are some things that are still consistent. Okay, so yes, some things out of the Bible can actually be applied today. We still have churches, we still have morals, we have values, and many of those morals and values are pretty much the same as they were back in the first century. So yeah, some of this doesn't change. Some things do. You have to compensate for what does change. He says this is a heart problem, not an education problem. That is absolutely wrong. That is absolutely wrong. The problem is that if you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your spouse. And if you cannot take care of a spouse, then you run into a mighty problem. And you can leave a person alone for all the days of their life only because you will not teach them what Jesus taught them. Yes, I just said it right here. Jesus taught this too. I can prove it. Go back to the Sermon on the Mount. When Jesus was standing there and telling people about the birds in the air and the lilies of the field, did he stand there like a wooden Indian? Okay, and I'm just gonna say it. I mean, that back when I was a kid, they had a lot of wooden toys. That's the way it was back then. Not that way today, but back then they had a lot of wooden toys, and that's what they called them, was wooden Indians. That's where they get this from. It's the wooden toys. Okay. So anyway, that's where you get the reference from. Anyway, let's go on here. Did he just stand there like a statue and just say, hey, look at the birds in the air and look at the lilies of the field? Of course he didn't do that. Jesus didn't do that. No, he pointed to the lilies of the field and the birds. He pointed to the birds of the air and then he pointed to the lilies of the field. Why did he do that? How long was Jesus' ministry? 3 years. That's all it was. He knew that he had to get his point across to people to get them to remember all those points, because they're going to have to remember it for a lifetime in just 3 years. So he had to start using mnemonic devices. This is something I teach on this YouTube channel today. So it is not a heart problem. It is an education problem. These people are not being well educated, period. They are being people in our modern society. A lot of these people have been bombarded with Common Core. Bill Gates' Common Core. I absolutely oppose it, and for good reason. And my thoughts on that have not changed in 12 years, and never will. I've seen the Common Core textbooks, especially the math. If you've ever read them, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay? So, this is very much an education problem. I absolutely disagree. And that is the foundation as to why people are not being taught mnemonic devices. You say, well, why would it be so important for the people of the first century to be taught mnemonic devices? Okay, you got to think about this. In the Old Testament, how many times was Jerusalem invaded? If they did not have their oral tradition, all the stuff in the Old Testament would have been lost. Period. Because when you invade a territory, you destroy all their paperwork. And that's what would have happened. And that's what did happen. More than once. Don't believe me? Check it out. The only reason why all that stuff in the Old Testament survived so long is because they had an oral tradition and they were honor shamed to memorize all that stuff. That's a fact. You don't believe me, you can check it out for yourself. Okay? I know what I'm talking about. Mnemonic devices were used back in the Bible times. They are now being used on my channel today. You need them. If you're ever to get out of your situation, your financial situation that you're in today, you must use them. It's that simple. I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you. Period. So anyway, okay, then he was saying, well, what's the point about the playlists, the thumbnails, and all the other stuff? Well, I already covered that. Okay. He did finally answer me, and he told me how he actually saw my video. For some reason, YouTube recommended my video to him. etc., etc. I already covered that. I already told him about Jesus using memory techniques and how this applies to what we're dealing with today. He says, this is where I respectfully disagree with you. More education, not the solution to moral issues. Oh, if they're not learning anything at all, it is. Nor is it an excuse for sin. If you place them in a situation where they feel choiceless, yeah, it is. But the thing is, it's our responsibility to get them out of that. And I take that responsibility very seriously. Okay. Just look at Acts 4:13. Peter and John were unschooled, ordinary men. Unschooled. Oh. This is where you get it wrong. We knew that Peter was a fisherman. Okay, he had to actually trade his fish. Okay, in order to barter and trade back then, you had to have knowledge. Now, that doesn't mean he went to a formalized school where he learned all this extra stuff and he was as well learned as Paul was. We're not saying that, but he did have some knowledge. He did to fish. He had to know when to fish, what nets to get. D Dude says good evening. Good evening, D Dude. Okay, but anyway, Peter, in order to fish, he had to know a trade, so he was smart. He also had to know how to trade and barter. Okay, he had to know what nets to use, when to use them, what boat to use. He had to actually acquire a boat, so on and so forth. So this was not somebody that was totally ignorant. He just wasn't polished up and super skilled like Paul was. Paul was an eloquent speaker. Peter was not, because he didn't receive that kind of schooling. But that is a far cry from being totally ignorant. All right? To say that he was illiterate, probably he could not read and write text. He probably went on with the oral tradition. That's probably why he had a scribe write all this stuff. But that's a far cry from saying that he was totally, completely ignorant. He wasn't. So, yeah, hold up. Hold the presses. But we're able to discern what is right and wrong because they had been with Jesus. No. No. That's absolutely wrong. They knew right and wrong because of the Jewish Talmud. Okay? Jesus only refined what they knew. They already knew right and wrong from the Talmud. That was implanted in their head every dang day of the year by the Pharisees and Sadducees and the I don't know if it's Essenes or Essenes or whatever the heck they want to call them. No, that's wrong. That's total failure there. Okay. Jesus is the source of wisdom. Jesus is the source of ultimate wisdom. I will grant you that. Why? Because Jesus is God. That's true. But didn't God give them the Old Testament? Didn't he give them the Torah, the Talmud, the whole 9 yards? There you go. And we have that same wisdom today through faith in him. That is actually wrong. He only amplifies it. We know how to read and write. We have been taught how to read and write the Bible, to read the Bible and to write down our interpretations of the Bible. We can do that too. No, the wisdom is actually in the Bible. Okay? Just because God and Jesus all said that they were the author of life, they are truly the author of life, okay? Because they gave us life. That's not the issue here. In the Bible, you have everything you'll need to live a godly life. That is why you read the Bible. In the old days, it was the oral tradition. They had that. But to stand there and say, Jesus is the source of the Bible, that I'll grant you. But to say that you couldn't get all your wisdom and knowledge from that Bible is wrong. That's where it's supposed to be. Jesus isn't telling you this. It's already in there. That's how we get our wisdom and knowledge, is through the Bible. Our understanding of God comes from the Bible. If we didn't have it, we'd have to rely on the oral tradition. We'd have to rely on people telling us this. That's where we got the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and you get the picture now. So that's another error. In addition, the people of the first century did not need mnemonic devices or improved literacy to remember Jesus' teaching. That is also false. And I just proved that. The Holy Spirit was sent to help us. The Holy Spirit was sent to remind us of that which we had already been taught. Jesus taught them, then the Holy Spirit reminded them. Yes, we had to have those mnemonic devices. So that's false. But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring you to remembrance all that I've said to you. Notice how it says, and bring to your remembrance. They had to remember what Jesus had told them. That's where we get the mnemonic devices. You yourself just declared what I just said. Oops. There goes your argument. The Holy Spirit, the only job it has is to remind you of things you were already taught. And it will do that. But you were taught those things first. They were taught by Jesus. We're taught by the Bible. So there goes your argument. Whew! Of course, let's see. I feel it's rude for you to insult me as not observant. I'm not insulting you. I'm flat out proving it to you. Right there in your own scripture, which you should have seen right off the bat, proves that I was correct about mnemonic devices. That's not rude. That's factual. You did not see that for yourself. This is the observation skills I was trying to tell you. It's right there. You proved it to me. Did you not see that for yourself? The Holy Spirit reminds you of those things which Jesus had already taught them. And the same thing with the Bible. The Holy Spirit will only remind you of that which you were taught from the Bible. That's observation. You should have seen that for yourself. If you had seen that for yourself, you would have never responded the way you did. There you go. It is a baseless accusation. No, it's not. I just proved it. Dished out because I don't agree with you. No, it has nothing to do with it. I don't agree with you. It's the fact that you used it yourself. I have looked at your playlist and they are not necessary for us to be able to discuss the matter intelligently on an even education plane. Apparently they are. And I just proved it to you. In my humble opinion, it appears you have overinflated sense of your own intellect and a disdain towards others' intellect. No, that's wrong. I have debated some of the smartest people in the world. I don't have a disdain for their intellect. I have a disdain for them stating points that they literally contradict themselves. I disdain people saying things that they cannot back up. And I just proved that you cannot back those statements up. See what I mean? So, wrong. It is very close-minded of you to operate on the premise that the only way for you to be questioned is to demand that the other person watch videos of you expressing your own opinions. A lot of those videos are not my opinions. They are flat-out facts. You can look them up for yourself. So that accusation is incorrect. How do you do that? That's incorrect. Many of my videos are not even opinionated at all. They are just what they are. They're facts, not opinions. So that's wrong. Okay. Is there a third party where you can recommend to support your audience? I actually recommended talking to James Patrick Holding, which you yourself did not take up. You should have. If you care for your students, and I do, you should relish the opportunity to be questioned so you can further articulate your arguments. I perfectly well articulated my argument here tonight. I want them to get out of a certain situation first, then I'll have these discussions with them. But I will not have these discussions with these people when they're facing eviction, starvation, and bullyism. It is wrong, and I won't do it. So, again, wrong. I look forward to hearing a measured and respectful response back from you. Well, I don't know what your expectations were. You've just heard my argument. You know I've thought I've proved every single point I've made. Is that good enough for you? So anyway, he did finally tell me about the finding of the Mark Ballinger video. Now, here's another thing. You talk about observation skills, how you got such great observation skills. What was the next thing I told you? I said, my reply to you will take a little time, so be patient. Let me start with this. That meant that I wasn't finished. That's the first thing you should hear is until I say I'm finished, I'm not finished. Period. Okay? And then I talked about Peter not being illiterate. I told you not to confuse undereducated to total illiteracy. I told you that intelligence and wisdom are not necessarily interchangeable. I've seen a lot of intelligent people that are not very wise at all. They don't apply the knowledge effectively. Period. And then I told you that from the age of 12, early Jewish young men were required to memorize the Torah. They were honor shamed until they did this. You can ask Mr. Holding, and he will happily tell you. And I told you about Jerusalem being constantly invaded, so on and so forth, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Then you say that my conversation became a circular conversation. It is not circular at all. Because my point in the original Mark Ballinger video was that Mark Ballinger was not adequately or accurately compensating for the differences between first century Judea and the modern day society, and I've given you plenty of reasons to show that. Okay. Then I said, if you ever reply to an academic video of any kind, and yes, I have replied to academic videos even higher than mine, okay, you're going to have to improve your observation skills. And even I don't have the best observation skills, but I have a lot better than this. Then I went on to say that in my original response back to him was that my response was going to take a little bit of time, and this was the reason why, and so on and so forth. And I observed that patience wasn't necessarily one of your skills, because if it were, you would understand. That's not important. That's not really important. Oh, okay. And I think now finally you've realized why it took me so long to get back to you. I wanted to do this as a live stream so that I could, so you weren't just hearing the words, you were actually seeing my facial expressions, you were actually seeing what I'm thinking and so on and so forth, and my pattern of thought as well. And the reason I wanted you to watch some of my videos was to see who you were dealing with. You made a lot of presumptions about me that were absolutely untrue. And I think I've proven my point. Whew. What a response. But I'm willing to make responses like this, mainly because this was a little more intelligent. I was more pleased to make a response like this, to directly deal with each and every little point instead of just dealing with I didn't want to give you a swift response. I wanted to deal with you point after point after point after point after point. And not just deal 1 or 2 points, but to deal with the whole thing. Because I felt you were worthwhile to do that with. I didn't want to dismiss you and act like that you are like some second-class citizen because you are responding a lot better than I have had in other, well, like that last example of Ian Phillips. His response was just terrible. Yours was a lot better. So I have to give you credit. You do have a better response than he did. But ultimately, you can see I have actually proven every single point I've had, and I'm doing well with it. Okay. If you have any further questions, statements, whatever, I will actually listen to anything that Calum Luff wants to tell me. I am more than willing to listen to him because he responds better than anybody else. And if anybody else wants to respond in a more intelligent way, I'm more than willing to listen to all that. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know and have joined my channel for the very first time, I know accounting, computer tech, high-end mathematics, how to speak, read, and write Italian. I did spend a lot of time. There was this video series about hermeneutics. I have worked with JP or James Patrick Holding, so I do have some of that expertise. Okay, I actually read books that most of you wouldn't yet even touch. And this is something that is going to change on my channel now that I've had a little downtime. That was one of the big things. I haven't had any downtime until recently. And one of the things I'm going to start covering is books like this. There's a lot of vocabulary in books like this, and you need to know it. I read stuff like this. Does anybody else? Anyway, I would highly, to Calum Luff, I would highly recommend that you take up JP Holdings' reading challenge and start having conversations with him. I guarantee you'll have a much more interesting conversation than even you have with me. It'll be a lot different than you've ever had in your life, but that's up to you. Woo! So, now we're going to get out my camera. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Oh, I'm letting this marker dry out. That was not smart. Oh, it still writes. Oops. Okay. Anyway, we have to cover another topic tonight. It's also very, very important. And for those of you who watch later, please, you can actually respond anytime you like. I'll be more than happy to listen to anything you have to say. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please leave me a response. I'll be more than happy to do so. Okay. Woo! All right. What is our next topic of conversation? Well, let me go get the little wire, and I'll go fix that. Then we'll cover one other thing tonight. Let me do this. Ooh. Wow. I didn't think I'd have to talk this long, but apparently. Anyway, doesn't matter. Guess we can set it up here, I hope. No, that ain't going to work. Hey, that'll work. You know, just got to be really careful because this thing could tumble over at any moment. I don't like doing this way, but we have much of a choice. Let me put this down here like that, and then we'll kind of tighten that up just a little bit. All right, let's turn this baby on. This is my Kodak Easy Share, by the way. Okay. Whatever. Wow, it's letting it turn the. Oh. Hold on. I just turned my camera back off. That's better. I hope. Wow. Okay, it's still on the turn. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, we need to. Don't you just love this? These are kind of impromptu things, okay, that I do on my YouTube channel, and I'll explain that a little bit. Oh, much, much better. Okay, now that we have things where they are. Okay. Next, let's tighten this up just a little bit. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I'm sure you've heard that before, but anyway. Hey, we're getting back in business here. Woo! Okay. Yeah, so that's going down like that. Oh, and that's not working. Come on. It's a little closer. Hey, yeah, that's better. I don't want to blind the audience. Let's look that up just a little bit. Perfect. Okay. It's ironic that here on the live stream, it looks kind of dark right here, but when you do the actual video itself, not so dark. Excuse me, just a moment. There, that's better. Okay. I want things to be as neat and tidy as they can be. Who can blame me? Anyway, let's get into this. What we are going to cover now, and this is going to be kind of impromptu, is why you're not getting a lot of views and ratings and whatever on YouTube. Okay, and we're going to cover quite a bit on this one. And when we do, you're going to see that this is not what you thought. I'm sure you didn't think of any of this when you first watched this. So anyway, let's see here. Okay. Good evening, folks, and hang on, that didn't go like the way it's supposed to. Damn it. Damn it. Undo delete. Ooh. I deleted a photo I shouldn't have deleted. Ooh, that was bad. Okay, thankfully I got it back. Woo! Yay. Anyway, let's continue. Take two. Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted, the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to cover a topic that a lot of people like to hear a lot about. They just eat this up. I can't believe it, but they actually eat this up. But we're going to go ahead and talk about it. But before we talk about this particular topic, I want to tell you that I'm running a live stream right now, and that is why you're seeing me at an angle. My laptop is right over here, and I'm going to use a dry erase board for this. And that's why I'm talking to you at an angle, okay? So if you're wondering why you're seeing me at an angle, that's why. All right, but let's get into this. What's the topic for tonight? It is why you are not getting a lot of views on your videos. There's some stuff you have not been told, you should be told, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you. And this is valuable information for you. Okay, the first thing is that when I started up this YouTube channel, I had to start with low resolution video, and I had to start with low quality audio. the lighting was bad, whole 9 yards. Even now, we still have to work on the lighting from time to time, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Okay. But anyway, let's just get into this, shall we? Why didn't people watch my earliest videos? Why do I still have troubles getting people to watch those early videos in the first place? There's a lot of reasons, but one of the first ones is that back in those days, when I first started up my YouTube channel, and I'm going to tell you a few other things a little bit later, but just bear with me. When I first started up my YouTube channel, I did not have a very good internet connection. Okay, I had a good connection. Well, I had a decent connection, but I didn't have a really great connection. Okay, so the upload and download speeds were pretty bad. Okay, so for me to create a high quality video for you guys was very difficult, if not impossible, because even if I got it done, which could take as high as 30 minutes because I didn't have the best computer either, the problem was uploading it to YouTube. It could take as high as an hour with mediocre internet. That's how bad it was. So I said, okay, because we cannot upload, because the upload speed is so bad, I'm going to have to degrade the video to its lowest possible form to actually get anything on the air, because I don't want to spend all night doing this. Okay? I don't want to spend all night uploading one single video and then you guys wondering why it's taking me so long to upload video after video after video. You wanted a lot of content. You wanted it very, very fast. I tried to get it to you, but I had to make it low quality for that reason. Thankfully, the quality of my internet has gone up significantly since those days. So if you're ever watching one of my older videos, that's what was going on. Okay. Secondly, I did have a lighting problem back then. As you can see, even now, it's not the best lighting situation, although it's a lot better than it was when I first started this. Recently, I had a room remodel, as you can plainly see. Okay, everything's been completely rearranged, so on and so forth. But here's the big thing. Here's the big thing. The lighting in my room has increased significantly because I got some light bulbs that actually work on this thing, and now you're able to see me a lot better than you were the first time I did a live stream, which was about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. So lighting was also an issue back then. What about the audio? Now, that was an issue too. And you say, well, I hear this hum and the whatever. Well, the thing is that back then, people didn't use subwoofers to listen to what was going on YouTube. What they were actually using at that time was stereo speakers that you would hook up to an MP3 player. Okay. And when you're doing that, there isn't that same interference as there is now. Okay. Because if you're just using stereo speakers or the speakers off your computer, there you go. The next thing is that actually also improved is that I was starting to use another Kodak EasyShare, which was even better than the one I had, and the audio was better. But the thing is, I don't have central air and I don't have central heat. So what you're actually hearing is the heater in my bedroom, or a fan in my bedroom, or my air conditioner in my bedroom. Now, as you can plainly see with all the rearranging, the air conditioner is now farther away. You probably will not be hearing it as much. Okay. And the second thing is I also have a better air conditioner than I had before. It's a little quieter, so you won't hear it as much. And my heater is further away, so you're not going to hear it as much either in the wintertime. And right now, I actually do have a fan. It's blowing on. Yes, I have a fish. His name is Mr. Bond, James Bond. And my little fish is, of course, swimming around over there, and he has the fan on, and you can actually hear the fan, but it's not overpowering like it is. Okay? Now, why do I bring any of this up? Because some people say, well, I'm not watching you because your videos are not 1080p. I am not going to, even now, even though I'm going to load up this next video that you're watching right now, even though I'm going to load it up, and it's going to be a little bit better in the line of video quality, my upload speeds are still not great. They're better, but not great. So no, I'm not going to make the super fanciest video on the world. Now, yes, I do have a faster computer now, and yes, I am more than willing to load it through my software. It doesn't take as long now to process a video, especially if I'm not having to use a ton of graphics. If I have to use a ton of graphics, it takes a heck of a long time because I have to create the graphics, then I have to insert them in, and yes, it does take a lot of time. But if I don't have to use a ton of graphics and I'm not have to load them into the system, I can process a video within 10 minutes. Nero does really well, and I have a good computer, and it's not really all that slow. So that's another thing. So first, lighting was an issue. Then the resolution was an issue. That doesn't seem to be much of an issue anymore. The audio, if audio continues to be an issue, I will go ahead and load Audacity into my computer, and I will edit the audio and edit out any background noise. And hopefully that won't be too much of an issue anymore. Well, like I said, with my air conditioner, my heater, and my fan further away, there's a good chance you probably won't hear any of that either. So that may not be an issue anymore. We'll see. But ultimately, what I really believe is the issue, because let me tell you something. When I fixed the lighting and I went ahead and did a high-def resolution on Euclid Book 1, Proposition 1, I said HD on it. You know what I discovered? It didn't make a whole lot of difference. Because it was really the material they didn't want to watch. They don't want to learn anything. Even when I've told them how to learn faster, they don't want to learn anything. That seems to be the real issue. Just entertain us. Let me tell you something. I was browsing through the internet, and I actually found a video of a guy. He put on a bear costume, and he started dancing around. It was cute as a button. I'm not sure who arranged his music or whatever. It was just a cute little dancing bear video. You can watch that, and there was no problem with watching it as far as that's concerned, except for the fact, let's think about this for a second. If you watch it until you get to the point where you don't have a home anymore, and you don't have the internet anymore, and you're starving to death, is that dancing bear worth it? Remember, every time you watch him, I'm not sure how he gets all the money, but he gets money for that. Did you? Did you get money for watching him? Maybe you should ask that. But there are some other issues that you do not know about, and I'm going to cover those today. In order to do this, we have to go through the YouTube Studio. Okay? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go in the YouTube Studio, and as you click all the little links up there, you're going to see a pyramid. I'm going to go ahead and draw it. It's going to be a little sloppy here. I admit that. This is kind of what the pyramid's going to look like. For those of you in the live stream, that's the pyramid. Now, what you're going to see on the very top of the pyramid is called an impression. I'm now going to define that for you. How many of you people own smartphones? Okay, if you truly do own a smartphone, okay, and you're going through YouTube videos, what you're doing is you're swiping. Now, that impression tells you, and this is for, you could actually see it for all of your videos or just a particular video in particular, doesn't matter. That first part of the pyramid is going to tell you whether when they swipe, they actually stop swiping for 1 full second. They saw your thumbnail, they stopped for a full second, and they looked at your thumbnail. If they did, you got an impression. If they didn't, you didn't get anything. Okay. Now then, they'll also tell you about your recommended content. What that means is somebody recommended your content to a potential viewer. YouTube has a percent of their own. They'll say, okay, we presented it to so many viewers, and this is how many of them responded back. They said, hey, you know what? This is kind of cool. We'll go ahead and check that out. All right. And you'll see that the percent of the people who saw what YouTube recommended to them responded by actually taking a look, okay, that percent's very low. So what that tells me is that even though YouTube is recommending your videos, not recommending them very often. And that's also dependent on something else, and I'll get into that in just a little bit later. All right. I see I have another person in my live stream. Welcome, and whoever you are, please let me know because I don't know who you are. Okay. Now, let's go on. What about views from impression? Okay, let's say they actually take a look at your thumbnail, they read the description of your video, they decide to click, and they start watching. That's a view from an impression. You just got a view. That doesn't tell you how long they watched your video. That just says that they actually decided to go ahead and start watching it. That's a good number, too. Now, what about the third number underneath that? That is the watch time. How much watch time did you actually get from the person who actually decided to start watching your video? You're not getting up very much watch time. That's telling you there's something wrong with that video. It could be bad lighting. It could be the fact that it's not in 1080p. It could be the fact that your audio is bad. It could be just simply because they just didn't like your content. Okay. ILR SNC. Hello there. Hello, hello. Glad you came by. Anyway, so this information is valuable. First, you see if they even took a look at your thumbnail at all. Then you have to take a look to see if they actually decide to click on that thumbnail to actually start watching your video. And then you have to look to see how long they actually watched your video. If they didn't take very long to watch it, they didn't watch the whole thing, you know you got a problem. And that's something else I've been running into. Okay, now, there are two other things you need to know. If you're going to, this is a YouTube tip for you. First of all, the more enthusiasm that you actually show in your video, the less likely YouTube, and it's not really YouTube itself, it's their algorithm. They have actually built an algorithm, and this algorithm detects whether you're excited in your video or not. The more excited you are, the less likely they're going to recommend it. Now, I'm sure when they built the algorithm, they had the best intent in the world. This has nothing to do with what their intent was. It's just working against you. So apparently, the more monotone you are in a video, the more likely they're going to recommend it. Bet you didn't know that. But when you've been on YouTube for 12 years like I have, and you have videos that are really, really old, if they are not being watched on a regular basis, YouTube will say, because their algorithm has nothing to do with a person deciding this. It's just that the computer itself decides, hey, I'm not going to recommend this thing anymore because it's never been watched. It hasn't been watched in such a long time. I'm not going to recommend it. And that goes against you. The computer is working against you, not necessarily YouTube itself, but the computer is working against you. So knowing all of this, it is really up to you to start sharing your videos. Okay? Don't rely on YouTube. You do it yourself. You've got to start becoming you've got to become your own advertising department. Okay? Now, the final tip I'll give you is to use proper hashtags. Okay? I use the hashtag school reopening for a lot of my videos because they're educational. And it was getting some pretty good responses because of that. I also use Pass It On and also Alone Together because my parade videos were pretty good with that. The bicentennial of the state of Illinois, my sign videos, that kind of thing, they would respond to that. Make sure that your hashtags clearly reflect what's in your video because they start looking at those hashtags and they don't see it's reflective of your video, it's not going to go too well for you. But hopefully you have learned what you really need to learn from me. And I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. If you have any other questions, please let me know. And I'll help you as best as I can. All right. This is Ted, the Speed Learner, signing off. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. I've got a fourth person in here. Whoever you are, please let me know who you are. Okay. Now then, one final video for tonight. I know I'm not doing a lot of videos tonight. I promise the next time I do a live stream, we're going to Crazy Josh Cravey has loaded a video into my video response force. I will get that back to that, and I will start reviewing more of Survival on a Budget Made Easy. I'll review some of his videos as well. I'm going to go back to reviewing movies, etc., whatever it takes to get you guys to watch my content, but also to respond to you as well, to help you with your content too. Because we now know the YouTube algorithms are now, to some extent, working against you. You need as much help as you can get. I'm going to help you out. So, anyway, whew. I'm sorry, my mind runs 1,000 miles an hour, and I don't always think the way that. Never mind, you get it. All right, last video. This is a review, by the way. Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted, the Speed Learner, and tonight I'm going to review my winter coat, which I bought about 2 years ago from the Jack Frost Company. You can see here, it says right on the thing, right on the label, Jack Frost Company. I bought this 2 years ago. I believe it was from a company called Hey Band. They were selling these. And I want to show you why you should not buy this coat. Okay? And let me start with this. It took exactly 2 years for this coat to rip, just like this. I want you to take a look at that. 2 years. This coat should have lasted 7 years. But as you can plainly see, it only lasted 2. I want you. Now, I'm doing a live stream right now. That is why you're seeing me at an angle. But I'm going to show my live stream people. I have my laptop over here and my camera over here. That's why you're seeing me at an angle. But I'm going to show these people this. Look at this. In 2 years, the whole side split open. But that's not all of it. Oh, no, 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 no. The pockets. Look at the pockets. I had to actually sew one of them up because it just ripped on the bottom and everything was falling into it. But it didn't just rip on one side. Oh, no, as you can see here, it ripped on the other. Look at that. You call that a high-quality coat? I certainly don't. So, now don't necessarily blame Hey Band. I don't know if they knew this or not, but I would definitely not buy coats from the Jack Frost Coat Company because their coats are not sturdy at all. Within 2 years, it was like this. They're total rag. I'm going to donate that to a homeless shelter somewhere. Hopefully, they can fix it up real quick and give it to a homeless person because that's one of the worst coats I've ever seen in my life. Hey, Band, if you're still selling those coats, stop selling them. And now you can see why. They just fall apart that quick. Just 2 years. 2 years, and it's already... It's worthless. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. And hopefully you guys will not buy that coat. I did order a coat from a company called King Size. I don't know what the name brand of it is, but I will be reviewing it one day real soon. It's a lot better. It's a lot sturdier. It's far better constructed, and probably will last me about 6 to 7 years. I'm looking forward to it. All right. So this is Ted, the Speed Learner, signing off. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned. What did you guys think of my live stream? All right. Well, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for watching this particular live stream. If you have not watched this live stream and you want to go back through it, that's fine. Next time I host a live stream, I will be reviewing Crazy Josh Cravey's. He's got 2 videos I want to review. I'm going to review some more from Survival on a Budget Made Easy and some other videos as well. We're going to go through, we're going to do some music reviews, so on and so forth. So anyway, one of the biggest things I've been trying to do right now is to, how shall I say this? Advertise my videos. That's one of the things that's been taking up so much of my time. Also, I've been trying to put some end screens and cards on some of my older videos, and also working on some thumbnails, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things I've been trying to do. And now that you've seen that, there you go. All right. You will hopefully see a lot more of me. My hours got reduced a little bit, and so it's going to give me more time to work on this stuff. I will also be working on that Kindle book, which is PTCB on a budget. My Did You Remember Everything sequel book will come out hopefully by the end of the year. We'll see. All right. I will tell you more in a future video, so I would like for you to stay tuned.